and I had to let that go.
I only filter with certain groups of people now, like out of
Respect.
yeah, like I know that that's a huge trigger for them.
All right, it takes a minute. We're live! Yay! Hee hee hee! Woohoo! Hello! No one's here yet. This is not coffee because I can only have 1 cup, and I had to have it. If I had 2 cups of coffee, you just don't even.
I'm usually 2 a day.
Hey, Kristen. Good morning. Hello, hello. I'm here with Jen.
Hi.
It's Jen Kelchner, everybody. So excited. Let's give everybody a second to roll on in. Good morning, Denise. My eyes. My calendar notifications. Hi, Erin. Erin, check out the couch. I fit it in here. I'm so excited. Hey, Heather. Hello, hello, hello.
Eyes leaking. Joy? I don't know. It's usually a sign that energy is getting ready to pop.
Oh, Jesus.
It's my left eye.
Good luck to us.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
What does the left side mean?
Receiving. Right side's giving, left side's receiving.
Okay. I can never remember that. Hey, Danielle. So, how's everybody feeling? It feels like it's been a month since the full moon.
It's been a day and a half, 2 days.
Day and a half. I'm like, what's happening?
I'm pretty sure yesterday was about a week long. I'm pretty sure.
Over a few years.
Yeah, maybe.
We've been having so many conversations that it's been difficult to pinpoint when we had them. They've been had.
There's so many.
There's so many.
Is anybody else experiencing that where time linear time is no longer a thing, and it just everything's overlapping now?
It's really.
And then when you drop back into linear time, it's like, where am I?
Yeah.
What happened?
What
day
is
it?
I'm so sorry I've messed up your appointment. That's me.
It's just so much.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we can start rolling. We thought, ooh, I think we have a lag because did you see that? It went from 17 to 21
Yeah, pretty big jump.
Yeah. Well, I moved my computer, so I unplugged everything before in a bad way. All right. So anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna put my hands like this so I see for editing later.
Is that your mark?
It's my mark. We'll do it again now because I messed it up. Okay. So good morning, everybody. We're here today with the amazing Jen Kelchner.
Hi.
And we're just going to be kind of talking about all kinds of things because Jen and I are really good at talking about things. But we've had a lot of discussions lately about imposter syndrome. And Jen has helped me a lot with that. So I want to definitely dig in. But before we do, tell us a little about Jen.
Oh my gosh, I never know where to start talking about myself because how many lifetimes do we want to go back? And just in this particular life itself. I have a really wild history. I've gone through a lot. I've been through a lot, like everybody, right? Like we all have these continuous cycles of what I'm discovering. It's just one cycle of trauma after another. And a lot of that I've done in the last 10 years is just figuring out for myself how to heal trauma, how to release it. I'm currently in a pattern of figuring out where my self-abuses are, meaning not having boundaries and not having things like that. But most of my work is done in the corporate world. So I have almost 30-year career in business as a consultant and as an executive coach. And so that side of me gets to help leaders around the world build better systems, like more human-centered systems for the new earth that's birthing right now, which is super cool. The other aspect of me gets to hang out in the healing and energy space to help people with these amazing things like mindset shifts. And so I do quantum hypnosis. I do other energy healing techniques, recently figured out I'm a channel, which has been happening since I was a small child, but I had no idea what was going on. I just thought I liked to talk to myself,
Right.
which I still like to talk to myself. But now I realize it's kind of a staff meeting on the daily, which is like that, all the chatter. So that's a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just like jump onto your thing and say how we met.
Yes.
So back when quarantine first started,
Mhm.
so would this have been March?
Well, I think
End of March.
February, March was our first time we met through Brandy for quantum hypnosis, I think. And then March we actually met in the store. We ran into each other in etheric.
No.
Is that totally different?
Yeah, because
See, linear time.
Yeah, because it would have had to been, so our last day of being at the Wellness Collective open was like the 15th of March, and then quarantine happened. And we were in quarantine when we had our session because it was virtual. Remember that?
That's right. I do remember now.
So I was talking to Brandy, and I said, hi, Brandy. Hey, Bridget. Hey, Amy. I was talking to Brandy, and I said, I need some past life regression. I need help. Like, help me. And she's like, oh, you've got to talk to Jen. My friend Jen is amazing. She does this thing called quantum hypnosis. And so I was like, okay. So I booked a session with Jen, and we did it at the Wellness Collective, but virtually. So yeah, because I laid down on the table, I remember that. And I'd never done anything quite like it, and it was really amazing. And the cool thing about Jen is that she is so intuitive and spiritual, and at the same time, so organized, and like all the details. Because I'm like, you've met me, I'm not super detail person. Like, woo! So it was amazing to have that experience with her, and it was a lot of healing information came through. And through that, we started chatting a little bit, and not crazy amounts or anything. No,
just a little bit.
And then
that's right. When I got back from my trip, when we first were released back into the wild,
yes,
post quarantine, we ended up at Etheric Connections the same day buying dragon skulls. I ran into each other.
It was like total kismet, and we got to like see each other, and we're like, can we hug?
You were my first hug in 3 months. It was awesome.
So great.
It was so good.
It was so good. And so that is what happened. Yeah. The rest is a little bit history.
And now we're like, yesterday we kind of broke through this little telepathic mind meld situation, so that's new.
Yeah, every day it's like,
it's lots of fun stuff.
Hey, Tanya. Hey, Rose. Hi, everybody. So that is super cool, and that's how we met. And so here's what I wanted to kind of kick us off with, talking about the concept of imposter syndrome. And I want to explain, like, in my perspective, what that is and how it affects me. So this is, my history is I've been a stay-at-home mom for, the past decade, okay? And so my whole definition of self has been around raising the kids and being here at the home and all the things. And for me, I felt like that was supposed to be very fulfilling. And when it wasn't, I judged myself pretty harshly. So I was always trying to do better at that. But at the same time, I have this stubborn side of me that's like, yeah, we don't want to do it. So constant struggle with my identity, because I felt like I wasn't doing a very good job being a stay-at-home mom. But then I was feeling like I don't want to even do a good job at it. And then I was saying, but I do want to do a really good job at it. And it was just like this endless cycle for me. So when I started moving through that and getting into my business and starting to get out there more and like speak my things and all this stuff, it started to happen very fast. And I found myself feeling really intimidated as I stepped out into the world, because I felt like, who am I to say the things that I'm saying? Who wants to listen to me? Who am I to put myself out there as somebody who does this type of healing or any of this type of work, because there are so many other people who do it better. Like, I don't need to be out there. Like, just constant comparison with my peers and literally anybody I could find to compare myself with. Just endless. And for as long as I can remember, I've done that to myself. Even when, with like yoga, for example, I said I could never be a yoga teacher because I don't have a yoga body. And it was when I enrolled in yoga teacher training when I said, hey, you don't think you should do this? I said, do it. Here's my money. Let's go. Let's do it. And it was kind of like busting through that, So,
well, I think I think women in general are conditioned a little extra beyond men in our culture, anyways. But I don't know, there's so much of us that is suppressed naturally that if we aren't fitting some sort of societal norm, then we have a problem with it because we've been told to have a problem with it. So you don't fit any kind of normative story. So, like motherhood, for example, when my kids were little, I worked with the first one. When I had my second son, I quit work to raise both of them. And probably within 4, 5, 6 weeks, it was it was terrible. I hate to say how early on it was in having 2 children at home. I was dead. I was dead on the inside. I was angry. I was mad. I was frustrated. I was dying because I felt so disconnected to the outside world. But yet I knew that everybody else was perceiving me through that lens of this is what motherhood looks like. You have to quit your job. You have to stay home. Well, and now I understand why my brain works like it does because the whole Arcturian situation I've got going on. But I needed to be out in the world. I have a business mind. I do things a certain way, and it wasn't my mission to do that. My mission was to bring these humans into the world and to love them and to learn from them. But it can look different. And then I think we also are told not to trust our own stories. Because like recently have been figuring out that the gaslighting's been happening since day one when you come out of the womb. And so you're immediately told, don't trust your feelings, don't trust what you see, don't trust what you know. That's not actually what's happening. And so we're taught not to trust our own stories. So if you can't trust your own story, how could you possibly not feel like an imposter? Because you're not actually wearing your own skin, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's tough. Everybody goes through it though. It's like, I'd like to call it a rite of passage. I guess it's like a rite of passage in actually embracing your whole self.
Okay. And so the other thing of that too, which you just kind of touched on, is it's not one is better and one is not better. Like there's that feeling out there that when you have kids, that is your mission.
Yeah.
And for some people it truly is. And I know people like that. And it's so easy for us as women to judge each other. We just like it's like the easiest program in the world to be like, ooh, look at her not doing what I think she should be doing. It's like, let me call the police. But it's kind of like, for me, was like getting out of that thing of like judging myself for not being that kind of a mom, and understanding that the kind of mom I am is good and is what my children need, and they're fine. They're good.
I woke up one day realizing I had become a robot. I was so emotionally disconnected in that situation. And that's when it hit me that, and it had to do with other things, it had to do with their dad and all other situations, but I was so disconnected that I realized I'm not loving my children because I'm not even present. And so that can't be good for them. So if I'm going to be able to be a mother that just loves them and teaches them how to be humans in the world, then I have to not be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
I have to just pursue. And there's so much to unpack there, so I'm not going down the motherhood track this morning because there's way too much. But I will say now, today, as they're 21 and 25, but they'll tell me all the time, they're just like, their thing back, if I check in with them, like, what do you think I should be doing right now to be a good mom? And they're just like, just do you. If you would just do you, we'll be fine. And so I think that, we just have to like cut ourselves slack, own our own stories, whatever it looks like.
Whatever that looks like.
Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's got purpose.
Yeah. And it just feels like to just kind of let go and say like, this is who I am.
So much so.
So much so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
think we get trapped, like, I've done this at like milestone birthdays where I'll be like, oh my God, you just turned 35 and your life isn't like every other 35-year-old's. Like, what's your 401k look like, Jen? What does this look like, Jen? And you don't have this, Jen. And hey, Jen, you're starting over again. And I think it was around 35. I'm like, screw it. So I'm not. I don't compare to everybody else's life story. I certainly don't even now. Now I'm okay with it because I'm able to look back and understand it. But in those moments, we feel like somehow we've fallen short and we've missed the mark of what we were supposed to be by a certain age, given, again, the 3D matrix societal normative narrative.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of words.
It's a lot, but I understand them.
Yeah.
Possibly because we talk a lot, probably. but it makes total sense. And then kind of pulling that back into, because I've had a lot of people talk to me about business and the imposter syndrome with women opening their own business, especially in this time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is pretty epic. It's pretty epic.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. So epic is a big word. It's like both sides, right? But it's kind of my words are like spinning around me. But when I think about the business side of it and the imposter syndrome feeling that I personally get and that we've talked about, it all really swirls around from this lack of self-worth, the doubt, and this infighting among women.
Mm-hmm.
It's that feeling, that automatic feeling before you even have it confirmed to you in like real time that you're not going to be supported by your female community. In fact, there are often times when I feel that I cannot share my good news because I know that I will be told, oh, that's great, but the energy behind that will be like, and I don't want to feel that,
So have you talked to your folks about getting new friends?
Actually, yes.
Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion is get new friends. But no, like I think it's just a hard spot, isn't it? Because you immediately feel lonely. You feel like, but I need these people. Like, who else do I have? And I think now, given where we are in current times, is we can understand that we have to. Sometimes people are around us for seasons, and sometimes, like right now, you may feel more resonance with other people than you do with your, people that have been ride or die forever, and all of a sudden your ride or dies don't, like nobody's meshing. You're not in the same frequency, and you're like, what happened?
Yes.
And so sometimes, and I think some of those, sometimes we diverge for a while and we come back. So don't, be concerned that you're gonna lose everybody. But part of this journey is, we have to leave people behind. But back to your point, it's hard at first because like if we can't love ourselves, how can we expect other people to want to love us? And then celebrate, because again, as women, we've been conditioned to fight each other.
Yes.
Because it's like survival is the only program going on this planet, but yet it's extra for women. So like for all of the various reasons and patriarchy and all the other programs we won't get into, but it's so hard to find women that'll celebrate your wins.
Yeah, and truly celebrate them.
Yeah, like be so happy for you. Even if you're on your worst day, laying in the proverbial energetic ditch, feeling like you can't get out of it, and then your sister rolls along and says, but this amazing thing happened. If you can pull yourself out of that, I mean, those are the people you need, the people that'll pull themselves out of that energetic ditch for the day and be like, yes, I love you, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Instead of the streak of jealousy that tends to, well, why are you getting that?
Yeah. And then that also jumps us into the whole lack mentality.
Yep.
That there's not enough. There's a scarcity. And, we have to fight each other to grab the things. And if you're doing this, then I can't do this.
I think it's the biggest fear why women aren't starting more businesses. Is because it's already a saturated market. Sorry, I use a lot of business talk. Let me try and pull it back.
Well, no, it's helpful.
But we do, because you'll go, it's a very saturated market. Look how many other healers or energy readers or channels or blah, 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 or Reiki people are within this area. Like, there aren't going to be enough people. But here, and this goes back to imposter syndrome, because people are going to resonate with your voice specifically. So when I say your voice, it's whatever it is you're doing, whether you're literally speaking or you're working your healing magic, whatever your magic is. Certain people are going to gravitate towards you and resonate with it. And there are so many people going around. Specifically now, there's so many people that need to be able to work with their shadows and do healing work and elevate their energy. And we need more people to step forward that are ready to help with that. I don't know how many billions of people there are actually on this planet, but there's more than enough work to go around.
Right.
There's more than enough work. Have you seen the news? There's plenty of work to be done.
Yeah.
But we get stuck in that old mindset of, in order to have a business, it looks like this. And what's your return going to be? And what's that ROI going to look like, Sarah? if I just step out there and do a business that maybe I'm qualified for, maybe I'm not. But put that aside. What is your spirit asking you to do? What is that soul craving? And then you're already qualified. You just may not have remembered yet your qualification.
Ooh, I like that. And this is interesting because Brandy and I talk about this all the time because we both have partners who are like super earth sign and very grounded and usually have advice that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I was having my little spin out about whatever business type of stuff, and my husband was like, "It doesn't matter because your business is you. It's you. Like people are coming for you. It doesn't even really matter what the service is. They're coming to see you. You are your brand. So there is no other Sarah out there. There's no other Jen out there. There's no other you out there. So if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't like push through that fear and just like go for it because you're being pulled to do so, then the people who need to connect with you can't connect with you.
Mm-mm.
You've got to put yourself out there, and it is so scary to do it.
It is. So 10 years ago, I left a really amazing corporate job. And when I say amazing on paper, it was amazing. I worked for a Fortune 100 company. I worked my way into 3 different management positions. And I'm not going to get into all that because it's a very well-known global company. But for somebody like myself, this was like a, wow, don't walk away from this kind of thing. Because I was already on the right trajectory. I had all of the benefits. I had a great salary, the whole thing. And except for that I was selling my soul, drinking way too much, and working 80 hours a week. But, aside
Small
from that,
details.
Small things. But when some more backstabbing had occurred, and I was already in that place where my spirit's like, you're meant for more than this. Like this is not your path. You need to break out. But fear was like, but don't break out because you've got, what are you going to do about health insurance? And what are you going to do about this? And how are you going to pay for that thing? And because it's still very much in that space. So after this backstabbing situation happened, and I sat down with the talent manager, and she's like, I just don't think you're very good with people, so you probably should just like figure something out with your life. That was the moment where my soul was like, F you, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so I did. I quit, and I had no idea. I had no plan. I had no safety net. I had nothing but a handful of dollars in the bank. I moved back to where my kids were. I did all this other stuff, and I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out. I have all this information and knowledge. Surely I can just start a consulting business. So I learned how to do websites. I learned how to do graphic design. I learned how to do it because I couldn't pay for anybody to do it, but I wanted it to look a certain, feel like me, the energy that I put out. Even when I had no idea what the hell energy was. 10 years ago, I didn't.
You're right.
I was like, what? What do you mean energy do I put out? I don't know. So it's very scary. I didn't know what I was doing. I would advise to have a little bit of a plan going into it. Don't fully jump into the ocean.
Whatever.
But it's all been a learning process. And that's where I figured that people don't give a shit what I put on my business card, what title I stick on my email signature. There are a few men in the world that care because they're, again, totally different mindset. But the majority, like 99.9% of people that speak with me on a daily basis only are concerned about having a conversation with the real me. They don't care what label it's under. And that was a big, it's taken me 10 years to have the epiphany I had yesterday, which was what are these different expressions? Like, why do people come to me? So like I used to put it down in labels and terms like, well, they want me to coach them and they want me to do this. Like I was still bucketing it. It wasn't my soul stuff. And that's when yesterday I had that breakthrough. And I'm going to call them kind of like avatars, but I realized that people tell me all the time, I come to you because you make me feel better. Just sitting with you for 5 minutes makes me feel like high energy. It makes me feel motivated. And so like I activate people by being around them. So I needed to think about that. Can I talk to people about just, you need to come to me? Okay, I can activate you. That's no problem. Or how do you help me through transforming this thing from a negative to a positive? Well, that's alchemy. You're just changing energy. So like it gave me the permission that I was still seeking, so I'm still working through some of that too. But it gave me the permission to embrace my whole self and be like, oh yeah, you want the wizard today? Hold on, sit down, I'll bring the wizard out. Because it's the skills, the stuff that we already know that we do, we just kind of pull those practices out when we need them. it's just being with somebody. But you don't know what that energy needs until you're sitting with the other energy.
Yes.
And then you know, and then you just do your thing. Whatever your magical thing is, then you bring it out and do it.
Yeah. I love that.
But I think to circle back, like do more of that. Just be you. But just be you. Just start being more of you and embracing it and putting it out there for everybody else to come to.
Yeah.
Because your people will find you. There's more than enough.
You're so right. And like, I don't know if we've already had this conversation, but we'll have it again. You know, when the Wellness Collective closed, it was like, okay, all of a sudden shift to virtual, right? Mm-hmm. And I had this idea for this community for a long time, but just didn't have the time. I'm like, I'll get to it later. And one of the things that I started to do was to stop filtering myself online. You know, I do have thoughts. And I would never touch on any politics, race things, anything too personal that I'm like, I don't want my family reading it. Like, there were so many handcuffs that I gave myself to my personality. You know, it's like, let me box myself so that I'm a nice, pretty package and like I have no problems ever. And it's like, no, I'm like going through shit all the time. Like I'm a hot mess most of the time. But that doesn't mean I can't help.
Right.
And when I started to change the way that I expressed myself and just was like, well, here, this is me today, and I'm going to let you see that, everything changed. The people who now come to work with me are so different than any people who've ever worked with me before, because they're like, I resonate with this Sarah, and I don't have to be somebody who I'm not now. So it's easy. Like, work is easy because it's just me now.
Just you being there. Then you're in
flow.
Totally in flow.
In flow, which is the word.
Yeah.
Flow is the word.
Yeah. I was getting a whole message there a second ago, and then I got distracted by watching your face.
Yes, I saw that. That was funny. I'm sorry.
No. It'll come back. It's important, but it'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
But there was so much in everything you just said, as far as like being who you truly are. Yes,
it came back.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, good.
No, when you were talking about like people need real and relatable and vulnerable and that transparent self of, hey, by the way, I'm struggling too, because otherwise we're setting up another Instagram filter on our life of this is what it looks like. I'm gonna smooth my skin and put the right lighting on, which by the way we all love. Don't get me wrong. But
we love our filters.
When we're talking about this stuff, the soul work, it's important for people to know that this never stops.
Right.
And the other thing is, if you're afraid of that, of what will people think, or I'm not qualified to talk about it if I'm going through it, that's when people should be talking about it. When you're going through something, you should be talking about it, because you're learning the more you talk about it. You're revealing things to self, as well as people are learning. And the visual that my guides always give me is like going up this rocky incline on the side of a mountain, and you're only ever 1 or 2 steps above the people you're helping.
Right.
But you've got the hand back to go, oh, hey, don't step on that rocky part. It's slippery. But if you come over here and I've got your hand, let me pull you.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're already at the top of the mountain peak. We're continuously climbing up the rocky cliff. But then those folks are just right behind us and we can help them. And then you, by the way, turn that hand back around and the other person does and pulls up. It's like a little human chain going up the side of the mountain.
It's like every time you say something, I'm like, boom.
See,
because
activator.
there's so many things that come up, because this also really ties back around to the whole idea of, you know, how do you pull your ego out of your work, right? Because this is what we're here to do, right? We're here to help. What does it mean to help somebody? And if, you know, I've had these conversations a lot this past week, so it must be collectively coming through. But there's this idea of like, you know, I want to make sure that I'm doing this right and that it's a certain way, and you know, I need to feel X, Y, Z before I can help this person. And it's like, what are you actually trying to do? What is the purpose of what you are trying to do? Are you trying to help somebody, or are you trying to look really cool? You know, it's like when I do intuition mentorship, one of the biggest things that I do is I tell people to use your tools, because I have people coming in saying, you know, I'm not a real psychic if I use cards. Why? Why? Like I'm just wondering. Why are you not why are you not really connected to spirit and receiving messages if you use cards or any other tools? And what I say is, what are you trying to do when you give a reading? What's the point? Oh, to help the other person. If helping the other person means using the cards, it's your ego that's telling you you don't need to use the cards. If you're sitting down with somebody and giving them a reading and you know you're going to give them an awesome reading, you're going to feel comfortable if you use your tools. It's your ego saying that you shouldn't be doing that, and that's not fair. That's
you
not
could
fair.
use walnuts. It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter, but you need to feel confident in your ability to bring forth information.
I also just, oh my God, there's so many things.
So many things.
Well, the thing about the card struck me because I teach this. So if I'm running what I call a lab, so if I'm sitting with a bunch of government leaders that are doing technology stuff, and I run a lab session to teach them, I teach practices while they're solving their problem, and I will put decks of playing cards on the table, and they're like, "Why do you have playing cards on the table?" I'm like, "Because it gets you out of your mind. It makes energy flow. If you're shuffling cards, for example, it gets you out of the ego space and it just allows things to happen." So that's another reason, like if you need something in your hand, a fidget spinner, a deck of cards, even if they're not oracle cards, like if you're just channeling, it's anything to get you out of your ego headspace and allowing messages to come through clear and clean. But it's also, there's so many thoughts in my head. There's so many. What were we saying right before the reading, whether it's truth or not? Or no, the intuition part. I don't know, just trust yourself. That's the big message. Trust yourself.
Trust yourself, and also like really reminding yourself what you are doing this for. Because it's ego. Because if the point is to help somebody, it shouldn't matter how you get there.
No.
Right? You shouldn't be, it's not performance art.
One of the things I teach people, like if you're working on changing your mindset to something, so this is like a tool they helped me design, they helped me design a few years ago. But the way to work yourself around lying, well, fear is always lying to us. If you're working around fear, if you visualize it, it's creating a roadblock or a barrier for you. It's telling you can't go here because the truth is on the other side of it, right? Like whatever that emotion or root issue is. And so you see that barrier wall, how are you going to get around it? So to confront it, you have to ask yourself what truth is. And if you ask what the truth is 3 times, it's going to tell you. It has to tell you. It's a universal law. It has to reveal itself to you. And so you can listen for that. But you can also find that the other thing that ego is telling you is, like, for example, I need to be seen and I need to be heard. But I don't want you to come behind the wall because that's where my fear is. This little part of me that says, I really need to be seen and heard, but if I show you all of that, what's going to happen? That's where the fear comes in of, so like the emotional root to that is being seen and being heard and accepted, right?
Right.
But the fear part of that is saying, people aren't going to like you. They're going to think you're weird. You're talking to crystal skulls now. This is weird. Why did the rock give you information? Like whatever, right? Like whatever that thing is that you have to work through. I mean, there's so many fears and emotions we have behind those things. But I think the biggest thing is that we're going to do something wrong. Mm-hmm. We might hurt somebody. We're going to look totally bananas. Going to be, judged. That means I might lose business. I might lose friends. I like whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things we need to think about, okay, this was the big message from before. One of the things we have to think about starting our own businesses or even just where we are in our own healing itself is whatever didn't work for you even a couple of months ago is no longer relevant. Like do not keep carrying that crutch around. Like get up out of your emotional wheelchair with that one and sit it down because nothing works like it did even a couple months ago. Because that earth no longer exists. Those programs are dissipating and falling away. And so we can't say, well, I tried to start this business, like you were talking about. Well, we did this thing. It was really, really awesome, and then it wasn't.
Right.
Well, it's because it's not part of the new earth energy.
Right.
So, like, we can't rely on those things, those programs, and even what our ego was telling us, whatever fear was telling us of, well, this one time. If you have a story that starts, well, with this one time, like, stop it right there because it's no longer relevant to the energy we're in.
Ooh.
And people need what we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I started my consulting and coaching practice 10 years ago, I was so up until 6 months ago, I was banging my head against the brick wall, frustrated because I was a decade ahead of everybody else. Didn't understand that I was already bringing forward New Earth practices and ways of working. I had no idea that's what it was. I didn't figure anything out about New Earth till about late 2018. So everybody's like, well, why are you talking about stuff that's no longer, like, we're not even there yet. They were still trying to figure out, like 2005, and I'm over here saying, no, we need to be doing this thing for the future. So I was way ahead in bringing that forward. So if you've got something that didn't work, what I'm trying to say is I've looked like a failure to the outside world for 10 years. Because on paper, it doesn't add up. But I'm so not. I am like the most successful I've ever been because I actually just like myself.
Yeah, it's
We'll-
like the
we'll just
secret
leave it
sauce.
there.
It's like, I like me, I'm good.
I'm good.
But this is, okay, so many things.
I know.
Like, okay, so fear, and I know I talk about this a lot, because for me personally, this is how I've learned. Like, when I'm about to do something, or I think about doing something, and I'm like, I feel that fear emotion, I know that that's my ego telling me, you've not done this before, so don't do it. And here is a litany of reasons that we have packaged for you, that we have confirmed throughout your lifetime from your parents, society, your friends, all the things of why you shouldn't do this, because you're going to die, Sarah. You'll die. You'll just die.
Self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes. And so I have learned that when I feel that fear, I'm like, because this means something big's about to happen.
You're on the right path.
It feels like a wall, but if you pull back your perspective, just pull back a little bit, take a running leap, and jump on that thing, because that's your boost. And fear is one of those emotions that triggers a lot of energy. Anger triggers a lot of energy. Fear triggers a lot of energy. And you don't want to stay there, because if you stay there, the energy sinks you down. But you can use that as a catalyst to jump. It's like, here we go.
All great breakthroughs are preceded by chaos.
Amen.
So yes.
I must be having one daily. I'm having breakthroughs daily.
Well, but seriously, that's the energy right now.
It is
like, I don't
right
recognize myself from 5 days ago.
No.
I'm like, who is that person? That's weird.
Still here.
I don't know. I was vibrating so hard last night. I was pretty sure I was gonna. Do I need to leave a message? I may not be on the planet come tomorrow.
Put me down, find a string.
I'm pretty sure this was like, but I think, but everybody goes through that. But I think finding the right community is really important, because community is so much about. So in the other side of the world that I work in, working with the systems and culture and leadership things. But we talk about, in that space, we talk about community being a group of people that comes together, that operates from the same values towards a common goal. And so, because I think sometimes people don't understand that even within community, there might be different perspectives and opinions and viewpoints and information.
Yeah.
But everybody is, again, operating on a core set of values towards a common goal. And I think if you find that community, specifically if you can find sisterhood with a small group of people, we've watched this in the last month together in our circle. Yeah. How rapidly that process, like the growth process, is shifting so quickly for all of us, because you're with people that are resonating and vibrating at that same energy level, and we're learning from each other, and there's a place to be honest and real. And community, I think, is massive. You need the people that are going to celebrate your wins. You need the people that are going to hold space for you when you feel like you've hit the bottom. Right. And you need people that are going to challenge you, not agree with you. Right. But challenge you to say, have you thought about everything? Or, yo, your ego's showing again. Yeah. Like,
hey, lady.
Check it.
Yeah. Love you so much. Whoa.
Your human ego, I know you killed that one, but your whole spiritual ego is starting to leak out now. But again, that's like why we're designed to be in community.
You're right. And, so people then are going to ask, right, like, how do we find this community? And this goes back to what we just talked about a little while ago, which is living your truth. Because the more that you remove the layers of conditioning off of yourself, remove the parts of you that you've created, and with love, because I always say release these things with love, because they've protected you for reasons. They've served purposes, and now it's time to let them go. So we're not looking back at our past and saying, God, I wish I had done that differently, or wow, I really sucked at that, or like, I attracted all this thing. No, like all that needed to happen. But now it's like, as you reveal more of your true self, your people find you. And I even talk about this with like how you dress, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because how we dress is basically our calling card to those visually around us, right? Like when you look at somebody, you think you can tell what kind of person they are from a distance based off of what they're wearing. And that's something we all know. That's a clear program. And so some people dress a certain way to be perceived a certain way. Power suits. You know, how many times have I been told by somebody that I should not wear red because I'll look like a slut? Like, what, everybody? So now but everybody has these conditionings, right? So when you start walking around in adornment that represents how you truly feel, that's when the people see you and they're like, me too, me too, me too. Even if they may not dress anything like you, but they're like, I like the way that she is peacocking around with that getup. That is my kind of person, and they're just drawn to you. Same thing with wearing crystals. The crystals are calling to each other. You'll catch, like, this has happened to me so many times with my friends now. Like, one of my closest friends I met at a Monkey Joe birthday party, and I was totally not in a spiritual zone at a Monkey Joe birthday party. I was sitting there like, you know, and I had one of my crystal necklaces on, and this girl came up to me, and she was like, hi, I think we're going to be friends. And I was like, God, Central Pennsylvania is the fucking weirdest place, and Monkey Joe's is the first ring of hell. And so I was just like, what is this? But hey, guess what? I don't even know how many years ago that was, because I don't know what time is anymore. But she's one of my closest friends now, all because my crystal called to her, because she was like, your necklace, I really liked it. And it's, you know, so it's paying attention to the signatures we're throwing off, and making sure that the energy that we put out there is us, truly.
Fair, yeah. So, yeah, that's not my situation at the moment. My situation was I added extra weight during quarantine, and I was like, screw it. This summer I have 3 dresses in rotation. I don't want anything attached to me. But no, but it is true. I feel myself, there are certain pieces of clothing, for example, that make me feel me.
Yes.
And then I have, and this is really important to learn, because even like with my closest friend, I felt she wasn't judging me, but that was me putting judgment on myself. She'd be like, why do you always wear uptight clothes? Like, why are you this preppy person? Like, why do you like business suits or heels or makeup or getting your nails done or whatever? I'm like, I don't know. That's when I feel my most powerful. Where she's at the other end of the spectrum, she's like super bohemian, doesn't care about shaving or like anything. Like, it's the opposite of me on the spectrum. But I was then judging myself against that as, oh, I'm probably not very spiritual if I'm going around doing all these things, right? So that was a me issue, not a her issue.
Yes.
So it is important to be aware of that, and then embody whatever makes you feel your best self.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's another way that we as women attack each other on a daily basis, because we basically say that this is what we think looks good for everybody and judge people based off of that. And, you know, I've seen in the like more, I don't even know what to call this, but, you know, hippy dippy community, let's just say, which I'm in. But, you know, we'll look at it, somebody's Instagram, and they've got a ton of makeup on, and we're like, oh my God, like, she should not be wearing that makeup.
Right.
No, you don't say that. That's not for you to say. Everybody gets to do whatever the hell they want with their person.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. It's like, if you believe that the right way to be is makeup free and, you know, all these different rules, you are no better than the patriarchy. You're just feeding into the patriarchy with a new narrative.
This started for me in my teenage years. So because this memory is coming back, I think it's going to be important for people. It started in my teenage years when I developed very early. I had this luscious little body. It was amazing, except for it wasn't, because I was perceived incorrectly by men. So that was gross. That all trauma started. But in the way I was perceived in high school, the way I was judged through that, and even with my friends, and even my closest friends would be like, why are you trying to date up? Like, you're trying to date people that are so, like, better than you or look better than you. It started then. I've had adult friends tell me the same thing. After my divorce, and I started online dating. This was eons ago, like in the early days of online dating. I wouldn't touch it anymore, but they, you know, the same thing. We'd be sitting and she'd like, well, who'd you go out with? Or why are you trying to get with that person? They're way better than you. Like, God, they look so much better than you. And so I would just be like, oh, instead of trusting my own intuition and judgment, which said, the person you're attracted to is the person you should be going after. Physically, energetically, every time I listened to somebody else's point of view, I got myself stuck in an abusive relationship, a bad marriage, a, you know, shitty boyfriend, or hating myself. Every time it was, well, you shouldn't be, you know, caring so much about whether you have your hair done or whether you're shaving your legs or whether you're doing this or that. You should just be free to be you, be a full woman. I fell apart.
Yeah.
I stopped taking care of myself. I gained weight. I stopped going to the gym and working out. I stopped doing everything because everybody else's voice was telling me that Jen, as Jen was feeling in her soul, was not the right way to be. Wow. And these are by people that love me, but they didn't know any better because they're stuck in their own program, in their own situation.
Yeah, and they're trying to help you, but it's their own judgment of self that is coming out of their mouths. Because anytime somebody says to you, you should, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I know, and I'll catch myself. Like, I mean, I have definitely grown a lot in this respect over the years because, you know, back 3-4 years ago, I spent a lot of my days, like, my routine as a stay-at-home mom was like, go to the gym, meet up with friends, talk shit about other friends, you know, go out drinking, talk shit about somebody else. Like, oh my God, did you see so-and-so? Can you believe that she did this, this, and this? And it's a cycle of negativity that we don't feel better for doing that, but it's like we're avoiding our own work. So it's so much easier to look at somebody else and point out all the things that are wrong there instead of just looking at your own life and saying,
which is what we all see happening, playing out social media and other venues now, is it's a distraction to talk about other people, to I agree, should is a dirty word. It is, if you are busy talking about what other people should or shouldn't be doing with their lives, it's keeping you distracted from addressing your own situation.
100%. Like, it's so clear when you say it, right? But when you're living in it, it's like,
it's different.
Bullshit.
Like, what are you talking about?
Well, you should just stop telling me what to do.
Girl, I had to catch myself this morning. I'm like, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to put makeup on. And I literally thought, Sarah's going to get on me for having done my makeup this morning. And I'm like, then the other part of me is like, no, she's not. Like, she totally embodies her goddess self. She'll be fine with you embodying your goddess self. Like, don't care. But I still have flash thoughts. They're still popping in because for me, body image and appreciating the physical form I'm in as of the now moment is a tricky little thing I'm still navigating.
Yeah.
So that fear is constantly like, is she going to judge me? Is she going to not judge me?
And this is good.
But quickly, your energy's like, no, I'm not judging you. Shut up. Put your makeup on.
Yeah, but this is a big one too. When I started doing live videos on Facebook, like I think it was 2 years ago, I started just like sitting at my kitchen table and like pulling cards or something. The videos are there because I had just like cut my hair, and so I'd wake up and my hair is like this. And the reason I started doing that was because I was so tired of seeing these live videos of people saying they just rolled out of bed and they clearly had fake eyelashes on and they looked so beautiful. And like, not that that's a problem, but don't tell me you just rolled out of bed when you clearly had a makeup team just do your. So I'm like, I'm gonna roll out of bed and I'm gonna talk to people.
Yeah.
And I look back at those videos. I'm like, oh girl, look at you. I had no makeup on and I looked a hot mess. But you know what?
It's real.
It was real, and it taught me things that now I do for the most part. Put makeup on now, but I don't put it on the way that I used to before. It's not a mask.
Yeah.
This is me amplifying my face. It's amplifying my energy. When I put on my eye makeup, I feel very sexy, and I like that. So I'm happy with feeling that way. Exactly. Whereas before it was for other people. Yeah. But now it's like, it's for me. You know, and look, sometimes I don't shower often, especially with quarantine that has happened. I showered for you.
Thank you.
because we were in such
No,
close
I mean,
proximity.
it's dry shampoo and elastic waistbands. We've been there for
Yes,
months.
and you know what? And that
Or
is,
dresses or robes or whatever it is.
I am tired of feeling tight pants cutting into my belly. I'm tired of all of that stuff. I'm like loose, flowy, no bra lately. Like, I'm good.
Quarantine, pandemic has been such a good thing. I know there obviously is two sides to the coin, right? But it has forced our programs to shut down and for us to address our own programs and be like,
Screeching halt.
do I really have to work this way? Do we have to live this way? Do I have to interact this way? Do I really need to, do this, this, and this? Like, it's allowing us to really take a good look at things. And then with surgical precision at this point, I wouldn't say the first 2 months we were not there, but at this point in the year, we can actually with surgical precision start slicing things out.
100%.
I think this literally is like obviously birthing new earth in so many ways, but part of that is this next iteration. I think you'll see it in fashion. I think you'll see it play out everywhere. Like everybody right now trying to figure out what do we do with kids in school? What's right for us? Everything is going through a massive shift because of the state of the energies. All the bananas.
All the bananas.
So many bananas.
So many bananas. They're so appealing. I don't know.
Bananas usually are.
I know. But yes, I mean, all of these things. And, it's the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because I didn't want to forget to talk about this, is this fear of our own bigness. Because this has been a huge thing. Fear of taking up too much space. Fear of being too awesome. Fear of being too awesome, too good at what you do. Fear of persecution for speaking out, but mostly the bigness. Fear of we're in Leo season, so let's just be a little bit Leo about it, okay? And
No problem.
it's like stepping into a room and being like, it's me. I'm here. And that's okay. I take up all of this space, and you know what? There's enough space for everybody to take up their own space. We don't have to be smaller.
Oh my God. Okay, so many things I want to say. I want to tell you the trick that I used last year to get into my awesome space. And I'm still expanding because there's so much to expand, but I'm just going to do it quietly. But you just made me think of anybody that's a Hamilton fan and hasn't watched it yet or has watched it. If you haven't watched it, please go do. But anybody who's a Hamilton fan will know this line. At the very end of the Hamilton play, after Hamilton has died and after Aaron Burr has shot him, Burr is saying, looking back at their life together and how he caused so much friction with Hamilton when Hamilton tried to get along and do things with him. But Hamilton lived his best self. He with all of his faults, I'm just saying he went with the flow of who he was and what he was born to do. And Burr was afraid he had to pander to everybody else in order to get where he wanted to go. And at the end, he says, if I had only realized that there was enough space for both of us.
Chills.
It was so good. It was so good. It was like one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. On Disney now it says a movie, but in the play. And fantastic. There's so many good things in that. But the thing I had to start telling myself, I had to psych myself up to be my awesome. I walked around for the last year multiple times a day saying, God, Jen, you're so awesome. You are so awesome. Like I do all these different voices and I would do it all day long. That was my mantra because I have so much programming in me that says I'm not allowed to say that.
Yeah.
That I had to speak to it all day, every day.
Be modest.
For the last year. And I was doing it around my family and I wasn't aware. And my mom was like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? This is why people won't marry you. This is like one of my mother's favorite things to say, God love her. She's like, I love you, but this is why people will not be with you. And I'm like, now I can roll with it. And now I laugh. And I'm like, Mom, you know what? That's great because the person I am going to be with is going to be equally as awesome as I am.
That's right.
But find what works for you. Like you have to psych yourself up into it at first.
Right. You don't just roll into it in the morning. It's work. But
we have to almost be careful because I've been even catching myself still with self-deprecating language. They're like, oh my God, Jen, you're so extra. And I have to be careful when I'm doing it to be funny is okay, but I can't do it when I'm just talking to myself to dial it down.
Right. It's true. Self-deprecation is one way that we use to tone ourselves down, to put us in our own place. Like, we check ourselves on a daily basis. We may not say it out there, but we do it in our heads. Like, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do that. You're being too much. They're going to think this about you. You're thinking this about you. Your mom says this. It's like, shut up.
But as mothers, do we do that with our children?
Of course.
Healthy mothers, those that are healthy mothers.
That's
I
think that's another show, though. Because
No,
there's lots of unpack there.
I always throw that back at anybody I'm working with. I'm like, would you tell your child this right now?
Right.
And they're like, no, I wouldn't tell my kid that.
Or anyone?
Yeah.
Would you tell anyone?
So why would you tell yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, that's based off of the fact that I have now attracted around me such amazing, strong, beautiful women who are so supportive of me. I always ask myself, when I start talking to myself, I'm like, is that how my friends would talk to me? And is that how I would talk to my friends? Like, if my friend were having this issue right now, what would they say to me? And if I wouldn't say something similar, what am I doing here?
Right.
Like, what am I doing?
Right.
I'm fighting myself. Yeah, fighting myself. But there's a big fear, and this I want to talk about another time too, because this is a big one. And I know maybe Aaron and I too will talk about this next week. But this is this fear of persecution that is brought through from our past lives when we did speak out and we died. This is real stuff. It's real stuff.
It's real.
And so you know how, like, and I know that this is true in a non-woo-woo way, because you have like your kids, right?
Yeah.
They come into the world. You have been with them every second, so you know the things they've been exposed to up until a certain point, right? And my son at 2 exhibited a massive fear of spiders that literally made no sense based off of his 2 years on Earth, because he had never really encountered a spider, had any issue with spiders, but terrified of spiders, inordinately so. How do you explain any of those phobias that come through our lives that we have no experience in this life with, unless we bringing past life memories and triggers with us? And why? So that we can heal them. And this is such a big time for that,
We've got to listen. I think, and maybe we can close up with this one. I think we'll talk as long as you want, but
no, yeah, we're winding it down.
Being conscientious. I always usually warn people, don't give me a microphone and a stage, because it won't end. There's this thing I've been working through in my own boundaries. So I got better about certain boundaries, but my energetic boundary has just been a free-for-all. And I've been working on closing up those cracks where I've been moving people out of my space, basically setting new boundaries. And I think one of the biggest things I had to do with one person was just really talk about, I just need you to listen. What is it like to actually listen to other people and listen to ourselves? And one of the ways that actually helped me was I had a good friend that changed the way we were communicating. And this, by the way, is just over Messenger. Like, we spend like most of us do, we're on all day on Messengers throwing things back. But we started a way that we would open a day and the way we would close a day. Like, we created a sacred container for our friendship. And we now enter it a certain way. So we actually have almost a phrasing and a tone that is used. And it seems ridiculous, because we are 2 of the most wildly inappropriate people on the planet. But we open and close it with a respect and an honor. So there's a tone in how we speak to each other to open it. And then once we've opened it and we do kind of a check, where are you, where am I? Okay, we're good. We're in a space to have conversation. We can be friends today. We can flow. Once the container's open, then we have it all day to work through. And then we close it before bed at the end of the day. And it has shifted, for me personally, how I interact and how I can respect everybody else's place. And it's given me the presence to become fully myself. I hear myself more. I hear her more, because I'm not immediately jumping back in and saying, oh, let me tell you what I'm hearing. I still catch myself, because that's part of what I want to help people with things that I see. But it's helping me learn to just sit and hold space. It's helping me learn that everything we do can be sacred if you create the sacred container for it to happen, which is just your energetic space. Because what I was doing in all of my big bubble of energy that floats around with me is I let people just run in. Like, there's not a door, there's not a knock, not even a doorbell on my energy. It's just people just punch in. And they're in it with me. Like, I wouldn't say, hey, I've got a big pair of pants. You want to jump in the pants with me? Let's just wear the same thing. But that's like what your energy bubble is, right? And I had to have that visualization so that I could learn how to put the right boundary in place and then create more sacred space for people to interact with me.
Whoa.
And it's shifting everything. Like that was a revelation that was like not even 2 weeks ago.
I love that so much.
It's changed a lot.
It makes it, that's a huge, huge thing, because it's also basically, I'm going to be really mindful of this, because I think, we all, especially now with everything so exciting, we have a tendency to just like kind of jump at your friends and be like, "Blah, here's the thing," and it's because you're just
sometimes
like,
it's warranted,
right?
Just
sometimes it is a thing, but it's I think it's a really beautiful practice to get into the habit of basically, it's consent, right? It's
It
like,
is so
it's
much
consent.
about consent.
Before I jump all over your energy, I want to check in. How are you? Where are you at? This is where I'm at.
Because I might be laying in the floor with the room spinning today,
Right.
and I can't, I want to be there for you, but I'm going to need a minute.
Yes.
And we need to do that.
We need to do that. And that's also, just kind of winding it down, that is also about balanced relationships where you are giving as much as you are receiving. And, looking at that balance in friendships, because if you don't have that, there's something off and you feel it, and it doesn't feel good. And that's where you get your energy vampires. That's where you get, and I've been telling people lately a lot, and this is like, as I've been telling myself this a lot, pay attention to how you feel after everything you do. Pay attention to how you feel after a conversation with somebody. Pay attention to how you feel after you eat something, after you listen to a song, after anything you do, because you're being informed now in every moment about what your true self is aligned with and what you are not aligned with. And paying attention to that is all you really need to do to start understanding where you're at and where you're not at. Your body will tell you. If you are with somebody and you are just not in alignment, right?
Yeah. There's so many phrases that I'm thinking of, but I'll keep it serious for a second. The phrase that they gave me 2 weeks ago was, I can no longer sacrifice myself for your growth. Because that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're friends. And I felt this sense of obligation.
Sure.
But nobody else was putting the obligation on me but me.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, I can't just leave them hanging out in the middle of their stuff, even though I'm dying over here. Let me jump in. And that was the moment of like, no, are you going to continue to sacrifice yourself for somebody else's growth? Because it's slowing me down. I have a mission to achieve. I have dimensional energy I'm trying to meet and match.
You're doing your things.
I'm anchoring the things I need to.
Yeah.
I cannot carry, because it's not my job.
No.
So I can't carry that with me. I have to, set the boundaries. And if it isn't giving you a fuck yes, you don't need to be doing it.
No. And, just jumping on the other side of that about feeling like you're not going to sacrifice yourself for somebody else's growth, there's ego in there too. Because you're assuming that them interfacing with you is integral to their growth.
Exactly.
And what is actually happening there most of the time is that person is stunting their own growth by looping with you constantly. And so that loop is an unhealthy loop. It's unbalanced, and it's preventing them from stepping into their own work because they can use you as a crutch.
My guides called me out on that, and I didn't understand what they meant at first. They're just like, you're enabling this person.
Enabling, that's
I'm
the
like,
word.
I am not an enabler.
Yeah.
I have dealt with codependency. Thank you very much. And then they're like, yeah, no. But I didn't realize at first, like, context. Context is really, really important to any message you have. But I had to sit with it longer to see the broader context of this energy loop we were in, where it was, I'm going to come take everything from you, but I'm not leaving anything behind.
Not leaving anything behind.
And I can't do that.
Wow.
Anymore.
This was so great. Thank you so much for being here today and driving all the way over here. Let's do it again. Absolutely. This is super fun. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any other questions or comments you want to make, I'm going to pop a post in the Restoration Facebook group, and we can kind of continue this discussion throughout the day. And what weekend? I don't know what day it is. What, Wednesday?
I think it's Wednesday.
We can continue the conversation. I'll post a prompt in the Facebook group just to kind of keep it going, because I think a lot of the things here are a lot of questions I've been getting from people. So awesome. Next Wednesday, I have another guest. Erin's going to be here. So Erin Schrader from the Rebel Herbalist will be here chatting on the Velvet Couch. It's going to be super fun. And if you want to learn more about Jen and her services, I have posted her website link at the top of this, jenkelchner.com. She's awesome. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, love you guys. Let's see, we have some goodbyes. Boom. Bye, Bridget. Bye, Danielle.
Bye,
love you guys. I'll be popping, once I download it, I'll be popping this on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you guys so much.